Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway, and I'm here with my friend Camille Thomas, and today we're going to be talking to you about the power of the mastermind and how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. And this is our final public lesson for Think and Grow Rich. So I want to encourage you, like I have been all the time. It was really cool last week to see some of the orders come in because you just realized how juicy the class is online. There's about 7 or 8 lessons online, plus the 2019 version of the class is also online. And so you're going to be able to get all of that when you go ahead and register for the full class at Think and Grow, jjclink.com/TAGR for Think and Grow Rich. You know, these classes are great publicly, but there's so much more. You get all the worksheets, you get all of the reflection guides, you get the persistence challenge. Who's doing the persistence challenge? If you're doing that persistence challenge, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it after the fact, please let us know in the comments how you're doing. You should be on day 6 or day 6. This is 7 days out. Yeah, you should be a week into it. And if you're anything like me, you probably had to start all over again. So I encourage you on that. So I am really, hi Lily, we're so glad you're on today. All
Hey,
right.
Lily. Look, I was leaving her hanging. Hey, Lily. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to go, and again, we're going to talk about the power of the mastermind, and then we're going to talk about how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. But before I do that, I just want to beg your indulgence because I want to invite you to my upcoming conference. I want to, let me click the right button, y'all. I want to invite you to my upcoming conference. It is the Building Wealth Together 7th Annual Virtual Summit. And we are going to be, this is usually in person, but this time it's going to be virtual like last year. And you can book your free ticket at buildingwealthtogethersummit.com. That's buildingwealthtogethersummit.com. All right. It's a free ticket. It's a free ticket. All right. And so I want to encourage you to do those 2 things. I want you to get your free gift, which is the ticket to the conference. And I didn't mean to cut Camille out. I want you to get your free gift, the ticket to the conference. And then I want you to book your ticket for that conference. All right, let me close that screen there. And so Camille, how are you doing today?
Good. It's been another great day. It's been a great week of learning. My mind is just going crazy of all the things that I have that I want to do and that are coming down the pipe. And so it's just been an exciting week for me. And I had fun. I don't know if you saw the video with my mom, so that was awesome.
I didn't. I missed it. Oh, I missed it. All right, I need to
It's
go
on
back.
my page. It's just the interview, from here to now. How my mom saw
Oh,
me. So it was the first time that we had that and had those conversations. So it was fun. It was fun.
oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. My goodness. Well, I like that. That sounds fun. My little one, he hasn't been feeling so great all week, so I've been kind of stretched thin. Seemed like for once everybody in the house is not feeling well except for me. Just want to be up under mama. Mama hugs and snuggles make everybody feel better, don't
Yeah.
they? So today I had quite an adventure because I did something that most women have been doing since they have been in their 20s, and that is I got me some nails. And these are some cute nails. Let me tell you what, these are some cute nails. And he loves the way they scratch, right? I'm sure my husband will too later on tonight when I get done teaching. But I shouldn't have said that on public. His stepmother disowned me for making a comment like that.
Oh no.
She was like, "You're such a low class blankety blank blank." She wrote that all over my Facebook channel and then blocked me, and I have not seen her in 7 years. So
Oh my goodness.
I was like, look, it's my wedding night. I can talk about it how I want to. Look, poor man's been waiting long enough. My Lord, that's what you get when you date a minister. Poor man been waiting long enough. I'm trying to make sure I'm worth the wait. Anyway, I'm so okay. Go play now. I'm always going to teach. You can snuggle in the snuggle chair if you want, but you need to be quiet now. So so I went and got these nails. I couldn't even half prep for today. I couldn't type. to set up the broadcast. I couldn't do my lashes. I couldn't pick up the wands to do my makeup, right? And so the reason that this is important to this is because I'm sitting here struggling. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get my contact lenses out. I may just have to wear them through the conference. I'm the jurisdictional elect ladies director, and we're having our very first jurisdictional elect ladies conference since COVID and some other things that happened in our church that just kind of shook our church. So this is a real important meeting. I want to be dressed to the nines, get my hair,
right.
you know. But the reason I'm bringing this up when we're talking about Think and Grow Rich is because as soon as I was struggling with this, the thought that came to me was, you either need to be this. Oh, no. The first thought that came to me was, this is why so many pretty girls are not productive, because it takes a lot of work to be beautiful. I mean, we have natural beauty, but it takes a lot of work to have that stunning, flawless, turn heads as you're crossing the street, stop traffic, cause accidents kind of beauty, right? And you have to really pay attention to your body and make sure you're nourishing yourself so that you have that glow and all those kinds of things. Being beautiful is not just you woke up like this. Some people do when they're 17, but it's different when you're almost 50, right? So in my mind, so that was the first thing that came to my mind. And then I thought, well, so I'm just going to have to not be productive, because it's really more important for this conference that I look good on the stage and I look good when I'm preaching. And I know that sounds hilarious. You think the word is what matters, but part of my job is to try and instill confidence in the people that I'm going to be working with. And so that came to mind, and then immediately it was like the spirit stopped my human spirit and said, you cannot accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm bringing this up, and I know some people were like, why is she talking about this? And I didn't mean for her to talk about it so long. Clearly it's not a rehearsed story, but it will be one day. The thing for me is, it came to my mind, and immediately I started to agree with that. Well, I can either be productive or I can be cute. I can't be productive with these. I'm not going to be able to turn on my doctoral assignment. I'm not going to be able to do this, and this. And then it was like, no, you need to nip that in the bud. And that's the same way we need to be when it comes to these negative thoughts about why we can't exist, or why we can't make our company go, or why our dream isn't unattainable. We need to nip those things in the bud. And so immediately I started to say, I can be beautiful and productive. I can be beautiful and productive. I can have long, pretty nails. And later on down the line, when it's too hard for me to do anything with these long, pretty nails, I can hire somebody to do it with me, because I will have been productive enough to make the money. So we have a theme with this class. This theme with this class is somebody's going to be doing everything for me, because I'm going to pay them real well to do it really nicely. They're going to take good care of me.
Yes, I received that. Yes.
Look, we already talked about somebody's going to be cleaning my house.
Cleaning.
They going to be cleaning it. But and I'm joking and I'm being silly, but I'm not being silly, because all day long we're bombarded with these things, and if we accept them, then they will limit us. Mm-hmm. And even in something just that small, the faith and the belief that we've been talking about, the decision and the persistence, it's a muscle, and we have to exercise it. So we start off with the small things, and we reject those small things, and then we open up our energy to the things that we want out of life. And over time, that becomes how we operate. So I have people that I've been texting today who have been really sick in their bodies, and they have been, Lily, I love you. They have been really feeling down because they were so sick. And I sent out a lot of messages today about, customized for each person. But basically, when someone got back to me talking about how sick they were, it's like, well, the Lord has work for us to do. There is something for us to do, and we need our health to do it. And I reminded all of them about how 5 years ago, the neurologist told me that I was basically going to be a vegetable in 10 years, that I was never going to regain my cognitive functioning, and that I just need to go home and enjoy time with my son with the 10 good years I have left. And anybody who's watched me grow and lead this business over the last 5 years, you've seen the growth, the change, the improvement. You see me on the bigger stages. You see me on TV, on Bloomberg. I'm about to be in Forbes, all these different things, right? Like, you see that and you're like, that neurologist wasn't right. And the reason that neurologist wasn't right is because one day I sat in that office and I made up my mind that I wasn't going to be here for the rest of my life. So I was a long way of saying, this stuff works, y'all. This stuff works. This book works. Now I don't always agree with everything this man got to say. All right, because he didn't say it for people like me, and he didn't say it in a biblical context, but these are biblical principles and they work. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Camille. And I'm going to take down this banner, but make sure you get your class, because you don't want to miss out, because after we're done, after we close this out, the class goes back up to $4.99. So you want to get it while it's still $1.99. All right, Camille, I'm over to you.
So I muted my mic. I'm sorry about that. I was over here talking to myself. Didn't even know it. But here we go, right? We're talking about the power of the mastermind, where two people are supposed to be on the same wavelength. JJ was supposed to catch that I was muted. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I was too self-absorbed in my nails and my earrings and my everything else going on. And I was like, that's the thing. We can miss stuff.
Yes.
We can really, really miss stuff if we're not careful. And that's how doubt slips in, because we're not paying attention. Ooh, see, that goes right along with what I was saying.
It sure does. It sure does. So we're going to jump right into this lesson today and talk about the power of the mastermind, the driving force. And if you guys have been with us along this ride, you have heard us talk about masterminds before. We talked about the importance of them, how to select your mastermind groups and things like that. So we're just going to kind of go a little bit deeper into what the mastermind is for a short bit here. So one of the first things that jumped out to me was just the line number one. Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money. And then when it talks about power, it says power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. All right. And so this here, it says power, as the term is used here, refers to the organized effort sufficient to enable an individual to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. And we've been talking about this power of the mastermind. And this is really organizing yourself with two or three or more people who want to help you get to where you are. You have a definite plan of action. You have people who are going to hold you accountable. You have people who can think into whatever it is, your goal, your dream, your desire, to help you attain the things that you want in life, specifically in this case, money. But money isn't just riches. I mean, riches isn't just money. Riches is wealth, riches is health, riches is intelligence, creativity. Riches can be defined as so many different things. So I don't want to just leave it, even though this is transmuting this book is Think and Grow Rich, a monetary equivalent. There may be several areas in your life that you need a mastermind to help you get to the next level, to help you grow, to help you to organize those thoughts and share the knowledge and get on one accord in order to get you where you want to be. So JJ, what'd you get out of this mastermind?
Well, I like this bolded part, and more importantly, I like the sentence under the bolded part, because it says here, power is required for the accumulation of money. And again, as Camille said, this book is about money, because money is a defined quantity. It's something we can measure. I can measure your level of success by how much money you have. That doesn't mean that money is the be all and end all, but whatever it is that you accumulate, power is necessary for the retention of money after it has been accumulated. And it's the same thing with a relationship. You get out there and you get that good guy or that good gal. Well, you need to have power and control in your life, not power lording over this person, but you have to have these things in place to make sure you keep them and keep them happy.
Yes,
And
retention.
so when I look at this and I look at this power of the mastermind, there's a lot in this chapter. There's a lot in this chapter that I will admit I have studied this book for a very long time, but every time I go through this book, I learn something new. And one of the things that I understand about this, as we talk about the mastermind, is about this spirit of harmony. And for me, this is one of those chapters that I've often just kind of skipped through. Oh yeah, mastermind. Okay, I get it. But I never figure I can find anybody that's really in harmony with me, because I'm such a weirdo, and I'm okay with that. Okay, the Lord made me unique, and I'm okay with that. I've done a lot of things, and that's okay. But I look back over my life, and I think about the times where people really did want to pour into my life, or the times when I bought into a group of people that were all in the same goal, and maybe we could have been the mastermind for each other, and I didn't hold to the spirit of harmony. because by nature, I actually prefer confrontation. I want to push your buttons and I want to know who you are and I want to see what I've got and I want to know who I'm working with and I want to know what you really stand for and what you don't stand for. And to me, when I get in a group of really, really harmonious people, a lot of times they're being fake. That's not what he's talking about here. And so I'm going to push the buttons and I'm going to push the envelope. But if we are not going to be if we cannot be in harmony with somebody, they are not a suitable candidate for our mastermind. And if we can't be in harmony with anybody, well, then that's probably a sign that we need to do some adjusting, because the problem may not be with them, it may be with us. There's nothing wrong with being the kind of person who likes confrontation, and not that I like confrontation, but I don't shy away from it. I don't welcome it, but I'm not afraid of it, right? Because whatever you say about me is just going to make me stronger, or it's going to show me your true colors, how wrong you are. So but there's some things that we have to understand, that if we are not going to be in harmony with the people who form our mastermind, they're not going to be on our side for very long. So those are some very interesting things that we can look. And I don't know if I do also want to talk about energy, but did you want to talk about something before we get to the spot on energy?
Yes. So I was going to go back to that harmony where you were talking about, you like a little conflict to push each other's buttons and things like that. Well, in line 48, it does say at the end of it, economic advantages may be created by any person who surrounds himself with the advice, counsel, and personal cooperation of a group of men who are willing to lend him wholehearted aid in a spirit of perfect harmony. And I say, when you talk about wholehearted, you have to ask the hard questions. We're in harmony in terms of where we want to go and how we think. But I don't think that this is just a kumbaya, because you have to see things that I can't see. You have to ask
Mhm.
me questions that reveal my blind spots or what's holding me back. You have to challenge my thought process. Very seldom do we really, really, really challenge ourselves. Now, we could train our mind to do that, but how deep we go, because we want to protect our own feelings from ourselves, right? So you have to have the wholehearted aid and counsel and advice of this mastermind group that's in harmony with where you want to go, in harmony of what you want to do and who you want to be, to push you to that next level. And it's going to take some resistance. It's going to take some, pushing and pulling and things like that to get you there. So I think that you would be a perfect candidate for somebody's mastermind group.
I like to think so too, but I tell you what, I have many, many financial planning clients who I am in harmony with what they say they want, but they themselves are not in harmony with what they say they want. And that's really it's not something he digs into in this one, but I think he's covered that throughout the whole book, that we really have to be very clear about what we want. What is that burning desire? And then we have to manage ourselves, our energy, our behaviors, everything about ourselves, to focus on the attainment of that goal. Yes, yes, yes. And when he talks about Dale Carnegie. Where is it? Oh, yeah, down here at the bottom. He
Mhm.
talks about Dale Carnegie, and he talks about how he had a staff. Now, this is a little bit larger than what we're recommending you go out and get today, because I don't think most of us have 50 people in our corner who are on our side. But he surrounded himself with approximately 50 people in line 71 who, for the definite purpose of manufacturing and marketing steel. He attributed his entire fortune to the power he accumulated through this mastermind. And so when we look at this mastermind principle, we find out that it's not just about everybody. It's not just about everybody, like like Camille said, playing singing kumbaya, and just oh, we're gonna all make nice. But it's really about, what's the goal? What is the goal? And I want to encourage you, before you let somebody speak into your life, really be clear about what's the goal. I cannot believe how many times in my life I have had people who pretended to be on my team, but their goal really was to derail me. I don't even understand that energy. Like, I understand it because I've seen it. I know that it exists. But in my heart, I really don't understand who has the time to want to tear somebody else down. But yet I've been in meetings where the sole purpose, like, look, I'm here planning this event, and I got 3 people, me, you, and her. And your whole job is to derail us and keep us from getting where we need to go. And it's like, why? I don't have time for that, right? We have to be very careful who we allow in. But the bottom line is, if we're going to be as successful as we can be, we have to allow somebody in. We can't say, well, these people tried to sabotage me. These people are petty. These people are this and these people are that. And I'm just going to do it all myself. If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. I'm just going to close myself off because then you can't hurt me. You can't derail me. You can't steal money from me. You can't blah, 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 fill in the blank. But at the end of the day, if you aren't receiving the results that you want in your life, then those results are only going to come when you can be in concert and harmony with somebody who can help you get there.
Yes. And it's important that you're honest about that, because I don't know about you. I heard you talking about people that say they want one thing and you try to push them, and then they're like, they don't even want it for themselves. Because a lot of people, what you'll find is they say what they think you want to hear. And they'll say that, oh, I want to do it until it's time to do the work. And then they're unwilling to do the work. And then they get mad at everybody else around them or whatever. And it's like, we're here for you and you're not even in harmony with yourself. How can you expect for us to be in harmony when you're wishy-washy, when you're on the fence, you're indecisive? And this book talks a lot about indecision or indecisiveness. And so, how can you create a true mastermind if you yourself aren't in harmony? To JJ's point, and then sometimes some people will be the same ones that'll sabotage their own success or sabotage the group that they say they want to succeed because of their lack of decisiveness. They don't know what they want. It's too much. They're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to, stretch themselves and grow or listen to wise counsel or advice. So you do have to be very, very careful who you allow in and the energy that they bring. So I'm going to turn it back over to you for the energy.
Yeah. Well, the energy, when he says that the energy is nature's universal set of building blocks out of which well, he calls nature she. I disagree with that, but out of which which is constructed, let's say it that way, every material thing in the universe, included man. And we've talked about that before. I didn't bring I filled my cup and didn't even bring it back into the studio. But we talked about before. I've held up my cup, and I'll just hold up this one for you. I've held up the cup and I've said, you know what, in between all of the really, that's the cup I have in here. I'm sorry, y'all. I just can't win for losing today, but it's all good. It's all good. Somebody told me one time, if you were a perfect speaker, then people won't follow you because you're too perfect. They need to know that you have a few faults. Look, I got a couple of faults today. I don't know how to deal with extension nails. And I don't know how to conduct myself when it comes to my yeah, I used to use that cup earlier in my career. So anyway, I'll use this rock. We know that this rock is hard. It's matter. It's something we can feel. If we're 5 years old, we can look at it, we can taste it, we can see it, we can smell it. It's physical and it's real. But the reality in science and physics is there is a lot more space in between the hard stuff of this rock than there actually is rock and material. All that space in between the cells, all of that stuff. And what we're really seeing in our physical sciences is that everything is energy. This rock is really energy. It's matter and energy. And so there's an infinite amount of energy just in this little rock, and not because it's got a cool affirmation in here, right? Not just because of the cool affirmation, but just because of the physical energy in this rock. If you could extract this energy out of all the molecules in this rock, you could probably power a family of 4 for a good year off of just this rock, okay? So everything is energy in rock, but I want you to think about the energy that we have. And I don't want you to think that this is some metaphysical woo-woo stuff. Okay. When I'm in the store and I'm needing help and I come up to somebody, I can feel their energy from them. And I can almost guarantee who will and won't help. Now, sometimes I'll ask somebody with a bad vibe anyway, because I need help, and they say no. And I'm like, I should have known that. I felt the vibe. Right. But for us, we have to understand that it's the energy where our power lies. It's not about our actions. Our actions bring the results, yes, but it's our energy that where the power resides. And in this section on energy, he talks about different people who have a lot of power. And he talked about Henry Ford and how he went from being poverty to being one of the, richest men in the world through his association with Edison and Firestone and all these different people, how he added their brain power and their brain energy to his brain power, and their not Frankenstein mind meld, but through the mastermind. But then he gives another example that just, I love this example. He talks about Gandhi. Now, at the time he wrote this, Gandhi was more recent than today. A lot of people don't really know much about Gandhi, and I'm not going to go into all of that. But at the time that Gandhi was living, that the India was still under control of the British, and they had led a lot of protests and a lot of things through passive means. But the passive means and the harmonious means, it wasn't about the means, it was about his energy. And he says here in line 130, in reality, Gandhi is not eccentric, but he is the most powerful man now living, estimated by the number of his followers and their faith in the leader. Moreover, he is probably the most powerful man who has ever lived. His power is passive, but it is real. He says, so maybe since this guy is really powerful, and he didn't do it by building a huge company, maybe we should take a little look at what he does. He says he came by power through inducing over 200 million people to coordinate with mind and body in a spirit of harmony for a definite purpose. John Maxwell says that leadership is influence. And when you are able to put together all of the items in this book, you become a leader. When you have a definite purpose and you back it with faith and you are persistent and you take the knowledge of others and you organize it and plan it and you put everything together, you become influential. And what Gandhi did, he says, in brief, Gandhi has accomplished a miracle because it's a miracle when 200 million people can be induced, not forced, induced to cooperate in a spirit of harmony for a limitless time. And he says, if you doubt this is a miracle, try to induce any two people to cooperate in a spirit of harmony for any length of time. Now, two things about this. One, 2 million people, 200 million people to cooperate in a time before social media, in a time before internet. I think the telephone was out. The TV wasn't out. They had newspapers, but this was before all of the things that we use now. You want to talk about influencer? Gandhi was the ultimate influencer. And he didn't use YouTube to do it. He didn't use Instagram. He didn't use Facebook. He used power. And that power came from surrounding himself with people who knew what to do and harnessing their knowledge and putting it into practice and inducing others to come in and form that hive mind for him moving forward to accomplish the goal. It's actually quite fascinating when you think about it.
It really is. I mean, he wasn't an influencer in that he didn't have clothes. If you know the story of Gandhi, he just had regular cloth, really kind of covered, no real semblance of a clothes, a suit, or anything. Didn't have really anything that really belonged to him. No material wealth or possessions or anything like that. Yet he was able to move the hearts of 200 million people across the world in a time when there was nothing. All right, no TV, like you said, no social media, no nothing. But I like here, I'm gonna go back a little bit because it says that talking about all of this, how brains function and that energy, it says that a group of brains coordinated or connected in a spirit of harmony, this is in line 89 through 92, will provide more thought energy than a single brain, just as a group of electric batteries will provide more energy than a single battery. And then I put in here, your insight will only go as far as your own experience. So you need others' brain power. You need the energy thought of others to expand because we know that energy expresses and expands. So we have to expand that some other way. And then it says when a group of individuals' brains are coordinated and function in harmony, the increased energy created through that alliance becomes available to every individual brain in that group. So I thought that it was great, just like he's talking about Gandhi, how he induced that energy into 200 million people. When you have that much power, that much energy, and everybody's in on one accord in harmony, in the spirit of harmony and sympathy, it just doesn't benefit the one person in the hot seat, so to speak. It extends to everybody connected to them.
Everybody.
And that is so important. And it says men take on in line 116, men take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Again, you better be careful about who you surround yourself with and who you connect with in a sympathetic and harmonious way. Because we say in harmony, but are you in harmony doing the right thing? There's a lot of people that come together in harmony, on one accord to do certain things that are the wrong thing, that'll send you down some kind of, but y'all thought is in harmony. It's just not going to get you where you want to go. So you have to be very, very careful who you surround yourself with, who you get that thought energy from, who's pouring into you, what they're saying, what you're listening to, because it will extend to everybody connected to them. Everything that you think, feel, those people that are connected to you in harmony will also, that will extend to them. So you have to be very cognizant of your thoughts too. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad you did, because I think I got so excited about Gandhi that I didn't talk about the boundaries. I was talking about the rock. So I'm glad you brought that up. But see, one of the reasons I like to use these small physical objects is because there's so much energy in them. And sometimes we doubt. We doubt that we can do anything, and we doubt that we can make a difference. Well, I'm not Ford, and I'm not Gandhi, and I'm not Bill Gates, and I'm not Gloria Vanderbilt, and I'm not this person. I'm not that person. But you know what? You're you. And if you will allow yourself to harness these principles and surround yourself with people who want to get where you want to go, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't do. And you might be saying, well, I don't know anybody in my life that's really following these things. And that's where I was when I first read this book. When I took that real estate class, and Sherman Raglan gave us this class, and he gave us Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, and told us you need to listen to this every night for the next 30 days as you're sleeping. And I put it in the CD Walkman. I put that headsets on, and I let that thing play and put it on auto repeat. But at that time in my life, I didn't know anybody that I knew was after these principles. And you fast forward, that was 2007. So it's 14, 15 years now. You fast forward, and I think about, well, who else was in that class? My accountant, who's been my accountant for 14 years, right? Ibera Okoye. We were in the same back of the room together with our babies on our laps, listening to the lesson, And so for me, when I look at these principles, I'm reminded of what Jim Rohn said when I see how Hill wrote it. Jim Rohn said, your life is going to be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so when I look in my phone and I think about, okay, who are the last 5 people that texted me? Actually, I could go and say the last, I'd say, okay, I'm scrolling down. Okay, that's advertising. And that's somebody who just wants me to buy something from them that's really not worth it. But the next, I'm going down. This is about 25 people so far, and they are all quality people. That doesn't mean we all have the same faith or the same, that we're not all the same, calling in life, but we're all going the same direction. We all want to be people of value who add value to others. And I think about where my phone would have been 10 years ago had I had a smartphone. I was a holdout. I didn't get a smartphone for a long time, so I didn't have a smartphone 14 years ago. But if I think about who would have been in my phone back then, they were people that would tear you down. They were people that would just as soon tear you down as see you succeed. And that's what my life was filled with. But you have the ability to change your energy. And by changing your energy, you will attract into your life people who will mentor you and get you where you want to go and be even that mastermind for you. It's a journey, but you can absolutely do it. When we started talking about this concept of the mastermind, I wasn't sure we were going to have a very long lesson today, but I think we have actually done a lot. And I do want to close out our chapter talking about the last paragraphs of page 201 and 202. But do you have anything, Camille, you want to bring out before we close out on that?
Nope, okay. I'm going to let you go ahead so we can move on.
Okay. Yes, because this next one is going to be really juicy, y'all. It's a great way to end the class, and I'm telling you, if you're real busy, your kids are coming in. You know what? bring them on your lap, let them listen to it, because this next topic is going to really change your life. Not like all the other ones haven't, right? But I'm telling you, this is really worth the price of admission. And so as a setup to that, he talks about the crash, the Wall Street crash of 29, which happened right before this book was published. And so his research occurred while that happened. And he researched all of these people. Well, we've all heard about this Great Depression and the crash, but did you know that only 25% of people were out of work? Most of us feel like, oh my goodness, everybody was out of work. Like it's the other way around. Only 25% of people had a job. But no, the stats show that only 25% of people were unemployed, but that was a super high amount of unemployment. But he talks about how this Wall Street crash, it swept millions of people from the positive to the negative side of the income streams, from being positive to being negative. And he said those millions that are struggling, some of them in desperation and fear, to get back to the positive side. And this book was written for them. This wasn't written just to people who have money and they're trying to get somewhere. This is written for people who swept off their feet and got nothing, and they need to rebuild. Okay. And so one of the things he talks about, how poverty and riches often change places, and the crash taught the world this truth, although the world will not long remember it. And he's right about that, because I remember in that real estate class, another thing Sherman taught us was about how there every 10 to 12 years something cataclysmic happens. And I took that and I said, okay, I'm going to be ready for the next one. And we had several iterations of things that have happened in my life, and I know yours. But with this pandemic, it's the same thing. And if you look at the charts, and you look at what's going on in the world, a lot of the projections are that just like you had the stock market crash, and then it followed that was a Great Depression, and then we rolled into World War II, there are a lot of projections going out right now. Okay, there are a lot of projections going out right now that we are going to follow the same pattern. I forget what it was that they brought out before that, but I've sat in several conferences now where they have brought out the stats, and they said, here's how the world reacted in this time, and here's how the world reacted in that time, and here's how the world reacted with the Great Depression. We are going into a season where there is a limitless opportunity for those of us who will hold to these principles. We are also going into a season where there's going to be limitless desolation for those who will delve into and remain bound by negativity and hopelessness. It is time for you to build your foundation right now, so that when all of these things start to shake up, because the world is not done shaking up, I'm telling you that right now. COVID was just the beginning. When things shake up, you need to surround yourself with people who uphold these principles. So now's the time to start getting those affirmations, to get your mind energy right. Now's the time to harness these principles and get your desire, build up your persistence muscle, because it is coming. And in that coming, instead of approaching it from a spirit of fear, you can approach it from a spirit of power, a spirit of love, a spirit of faith, a spirit of a sound mind. And you can surround yourself. You can begin finding those people now that will help you take your life to the next level. Woo! All right, all right.
Good stuff.
Can you tell I love this stuff? All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over, and I know this is a juicy, juicy, juicy chapter, but we're going to close on. Nobody ever reads the epilogue. Just like we started off this class talking about nobody ever reads the introduction. Well, actually, I think Camille's probably more elevated. I think she said she likes to know what the author was thinking. And I'm sitting here feeling like, ooh, why'd she pick me as a partner? Because I skip. Let me get to the good stuff.
I'm a little nosy.
In this book, the introduction is the good stuff, and the epilogue is also the good stuff. So we're talking about the epilogue, and he titles this very interestingly, The Six Ghosts of Fear.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. This six ghosts, JJ, if I will. Thank you so much, Lily. The first part is I really, when he says take inventory of yourself as you read this closing chapter and find out how many of the ghosts are standing in your way before you can put any portion of this philosophy into successful use, your mind must be prepared to receive it. And this is like, you got to be real honest. So when I said that, I was like, anybody that prefaces a certain paragraph with that, like what's coming? So as I started reading it, I was like, oh, okay. Let me go back because I was trying to sneak and take a peek. And I looked at a couple of questions and I was like, all right. I'm gonna really have to digest this. But in the beginning, we've been talking about this indecision, doubt, fear, or whatever. But I loved what he said. I just kind of laughed. In line 8, he said, and we're talking about indecision, fear, and doubt. It says the members of this unholy trio are closely related. Where one is found, the other two are close at hand. And that unholy trio, I just literally laughed out loud because how true is it? you know, every time you find one, it's almost like for sure guaranteed you're going to find one or two of the other one, or both of typically both of them, go in tandem. That's why they're called that unholy trio. And indecision being the seedling of fear. And when I read that, I was just like, man, I could see that in everything. I'm scared to make a decision. I'm scared to make a decision. Now I have all this worry and I have this doubt because I'm afraid to just make a decision. And that's that seedling, that underling, that underlying thing of doubt, of fear is that indecision. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to make a decision because then I'm gonna have to hold myself responsible to whatever decision I make. Um, but we'll talk about, the power of making a decision and how that really translates. When you make the decision, it's final and you can actually breathe a little bit. We hold on to these things for so long, wavering back and forth. And then when you finally get tired of waving and you getting all worried and all out your pants, and you're like, you know what, I'm just making a decision. And then it's done and over with. And it's like, why didn't I do that sooner? Why didn't I do that sooner so I can get that unholy trio out of my life?
Yep. And I like how he characterizes it, because he says that the when he calls indecision the seedling of fear, in my mind I think about that taking root and growing like a seedling. And just like I started off this thing, for those of you who either didn't jump in, or you jumped in later, or you fast forwarded through the front matter of the lesson today, I did this talk about getting these nails, and feeling like, oh, I can't be productive with these nails on, and having to fight that. And it's little teeny tiny things. He says down here, he says that they're little things that are remain hidden in the subconscious mind, where they're difficult to locate and still more difficult to eliminate. But in my mind, there was a fear. It was just a little teeny tiny fear. It was just a little teeny tiny concern. But what did it do? It started to lodge itself in, and it would have grown into even bigger fears. Because what are some things that we get worried about? And he talks about some of them later. But we worry. If we turn the page, one of them is the fear of old age. And that was the little teeny tiny seed that was about to sprout into a little seedling. And later on down the line, if I didn't do something about it, it would hamstring me. Oh, you're too old now. You're not productive. Right. So we need to really, really be willing to challenge ourselves. And this is why the mastermind is so important, because that's going to help us do just that. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about these 6 ghosts of fear. If the 6 basic fears, and I'll go ahead and read them off, and then Camille, you let me know which ones you want to jump in on. The 6 basic fears, he says, with some combination of which every human suffers at one time or another. Most people are fortunate if they do not suffer from the entire 6. Named in the order of their most common appearance, they are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of someone, the fear of old age, the fear of death.
Those are strong. I'm gonna tell you, JJ, I put this ill health, loss of love of someone, loss of love of someone, and death. I kind of put them kind of all together. In this pandemic, there is all of those things kind of are intertwined. So it's like those, even though they're 3 separate fears, right now I could see how they're so very closely related to each other, and how people are experiencing those at a heightened level and are really unaware of it. I have some folks that their families are going through ill health because of all the things that are going on right now. They have this fear of the loss of love of someone, not having that love, that support, that person that they've been there anymore, whether it's through divorce, whether it's through sickness, whether it's potential death, and then the fear of death, all combined in one. And so I'm gonna just start with, can I start with the ill health though? Because when I read this, I laughed. I really did. And I'm gonna tell you why I laughed. Because it was talking about how they did this study about people who you can become ill by or by suggestion. So they did a study and they would have three different people. Somebody come in and be like, "Oh, are you feeling okay today?" Somebody go, "Well, yeah, I'm feeling okay." Then the second person will come and be like, "Oh," because they've already planted that seed of something may be wrong, right? The second person comes in and goes, "Hey, you don't look so good. Are you feeling all right?" And you go, "Well, I'm feeling a you know, little something in my throat, like a little itch or something." By the time that third person comes around, they're like, "Oh, now they done thought themselves into sickness," you know. And I've actually seen it happen, where you suggest something and you could just see that person start turning their whole energy into an illness by merely somebody suggesting that they don't quite look okay. But a few minutes ago they were fine. They felt fine until somebody's like, "Oh, I look bad. Oh, well, I guess I did feel a little cough in my throat." And next thing you know, they got horror. So it's like, but you were fine. And so that fear, that where it starts to really take hold of your subconscious mind, and then it comes to your conscious mind, and then it begins to grow into an actual thing. Like you said, there are ways to outwit that. There are ways to say, no, not today. I'm feeling fine today. But we have to recognize it in order to stop it before it grows and it takes permanent root in our mind and begins to manifest itself and to turn itself, transmute itself into real reality. So I thought that was just an interesting thing. So I just wanted to talk about that one real quick. And we talk about how people will do that to get out of work. He talks about that, making those excuses and stuff to get out of work, and then actually cause themselves to become sick. So jump in there.
Well, this one's a real personal one to me because most people who fall into this category, they really are allowing their fears to manifest into these things. But when you were talking, and I'm only going to say this for the small portion of the population that really struggles with a medical condition and they're having trouble. When I was down at after my accident, I wasn't getting better after a year, and they put me into a thing, and I drove down to San Antonio to get evaluated, and I was supposed to get in there at a certain time. First of all, they told me it was only 5 hour drive from Shreveport. I don't know who drives 5 hours from Shreveport to San Antonio, but it was more like 8, 9 hours. And so I didn't get down there in time to get to the hotel, and I had to take a nap, and then I slept in the car, so that my neck hurt, and I have a slip disc in my neck. And so I get in there, and the doctor's like, "Wow, something about your neck and your neck hurting." And in my head, I thought to myself, how did he know that? How did he know that? And I just left it alone because my neck was hurting. I was like, well, yeah, because I slept in the car overnight. That was a dumb thing for somebody with a slip disc to do, right? And then he kept asking it. Well, later on, he brought a supervisor and said, "I think she's hypochondriac because I mentioned her neck. And then as we kept talking, her neck kept hurting and hurting and hurting." And when he did that, I knew I wasn't making it up,
Hmm.
but there was something about my energy which spoke to him that I was making up this disease, or that I was exaggerating my symptoms, or that I was taking, and this is what he ultimately said he thought was happening until I finally got the MRI to show that I had a slip disc, right? The because forever the insurance is something, man. For a long time they won't give you what you need, but they finally so what he had said was that what he thought it was the stress and how it manifests into a physical symptom.
Hmm.
And when you have these issues that nobody can find, and you're struggling and struggling with stuff and nobody can document it, I want to encourage you to look at every other area of your life, because it could be, it really could be that your fears and your stresses and your anxieties really are manifesting in a physical sense and you don't even realize it. Now, in my case, I got falsely labeled by this guy because, he didn't know the backstory and I didn't challenge him, right? But so it's always one of those things where in my heart I'm just like, ooh. But at the same time, I've been in enough hospitals now to have seen it. And, one of the things he says is, sometimes we won't even, we're so afraid of ill health that we won't do what we can. We won't do proper exercise. And when that causes us to be overweight, which then causes us to have ill health. And it's like a vicious cycle. So if you find, now this is the thing, a lot of us feel like, well, I don't know why people won't help me. And I don't know why the doctors won't help me. And I don't know why fill in the blank won't help me. And I'm going to tell you, it's the energy. There's something about the energy that is letting people think or feel or energetically sense that you are not on board with yourself, that you're not in harmony with yourself, that you don't accept yourself as you are. I took all these that I've made throughout the course and I posted them here so I could play them back later. That you don't believe that you're worthy of abundance. These are all the ones I want. If you don't already feel these ways, I want you to put these on your mirror. All right. That you don't believe that you're good soil to sow into, right? That you're not going to be intentional with time, talent, treasure, energy, because you're going to let everything else come up to you and just sap it all away. You want to fight these things, and health is a big one in my book right now, because a lot of my audience, we're all getting older, we're losing our parents, we're losing our siblings, we're losing our husbands and our wives, and we are allowing ourselves to get paralyzed. I'm hearing it more and more and more and more in my audience, and especially my close friends, about why I'm old and I'm getting sickly and I'm this and I'm this and I'm that and I'm that, and I'm encouraged. I'm going to tell you right now, fight it. Get out there and walk, even if it's 10 minutes a day. Walk every day. Get out there and do something for your health every day. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how you feel. I don't care. All of that stuff will go away when you implement these processes. Does that mean that you're valid? Because me and Camille, we've had some serious procedures. Okay. It doesn't mean that it all goes away, but your ability to cope with it and have a productive life despite it will go away. And so then, instead of this fear of ill health crippling you, the ill health that has come upon you is something you deal with, you manage, and it's here. But the rest of your life is all around here, and you can still be productive. You can still live a significant life, and you can still make something happen. Ooh. All right.
Absolutely. And let me say this real quick, JJ, because I had a time where, and I know both sides of that, where I was going through, and I'm tell you guys, I was going through a divorce. I was a single parent. I had financial issues. I was a young airman. There were things going on, and I was so stressed out. Right. And so mine wasn't just that it was an auto thing. It was the fear and doubt and all the things that worry that I was having that was manifesting itself physically. So I would swell up. My girlfriend may be on here, but I would swell up like the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man, right? Throat, tongue. I couldn't walk. My feet would be so big I couldn't put them in shoes or boots. My face would pop out. They would see little things and they'd be like, "Oh, there she goes again." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Your face is breaking out here. We're gonna go. You got to go back to the hospital." So it was manifesting itself physically. So I thought that there was something physically wrong with me until about the fourth time in the emergency room. It was the same doctor, and he said, "Camille, what's going on with you?" And he said, "Because ain't nothing wrong with you." And I'm like, "How do you figure? I can't make this stuff up, you know?" And I kind of got upset too. And he says, "Stress not dealt with is going to kill you." He said, "It's going to kill you." And he was like, "Whatever's going on in your life, you need to take stock of it. You need to go see a counselor, figure out what's going on in your life and deal with it." He said, "Because this right here is not," he said, "it's not anything that's physically wrong with you, even though it's manifesting itself physically." He said, "It's all the stuff that's going on up here." So while I'm going to the doctor trying to get all these things, wondering why nothing was working, um, it was all the other stuff that I was stuffing, that I was going through, the things that I didn't want to deal with, the decisions that I didn't want to make, the stuff that I was worrying about, the fears that I had that was coming out. And they say like 70% of chronic pain really is psychological. It's all the stuff in your mind that's has some, it's energy. It has to go somewhere. and it comes out in your body. It comes out in ailments. But sometimes you could do if you don't recognize it and attack it soon enough, it can be so prolonged that it does permanent damage to your organs, to your body, to your bones. And then you'll be in situations like, I'm not going to say JJ and me, I'm just going to say me, where it actually does irreparable damage and you have to get that stuff fixed. It takes surgeries or certain medications or whatever because you've done it for so long. So, this is why it's so important to arrest those thoughts, figure out where that comes from. If somebody suggests something or you're feeling ill, you look a certain way, whatever it is, you need to stop and challenge that stuff. Think about it. Where is this coming from? Am I truly sick, or is this something that's going on in my mind? Doubt, worry, fear.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm glad that you shared that story because I see it now in my youngest. He is such a stress ball, and he internalizes everything. And so that's why I don't stop him. If he wants to play in here while I'm teaching a class, I want all of this juicy goodness to get in his little subconscious. And so this fear of ill health, I'm seeing this, and I'm seeing it even more with COVID and the impact. Even if you haven't had COVID, it's really, we're just stressed and we're tired, and some of us didn't get the 6-month Netflix break. We had to work extra shifts, and so we look at that, and yeah, Rocky, I really appreciate your comments. It's you gotta thank you for keeping it G-rated there, but that's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, we got to make a decision, and we got to make a decision for ourselves and our future. And I didn't even realize it. I was talking with my new stylist in my new town, and I was like, all this hard water's broken out my hair. She said, well, it might be the hard water. That's true, but it could also be the stress of COVID. I was like, I'm not stressed about COVID. I got sick early on. I got sick early on, and we came through, and we're okay, and everything's good. And then it was like, well, wait a second though. My heart rate is higher than it used to be, with all the deaths and all the losses and all those things. And so we have to really be aware of how these things weave their way in and lodge themselves into our subconscious, and we're not even fighting it. So I'm really glad that you brought that out. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fear of poverty, if we can spend a few minutes, or did you have more on that one? Okay. All right. So the thing that I thought was really interesting is I'm a financial planner in my second career, my encore career, right? And when I look at this fear of poverty, you think that we many of us, we later in life realize we didn't manage our money well. We need to get on a good plan so that we can have retirement with dignity and do the things that we want to do in our mature age. And you would think that would be sufficient motivation, but it's really not. And so when he gives the symptom, oh, did we cover the symptoms? I know we talked about it. We didn't. Did we cover the symptoms of illness? Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me mute this while I'm flipping so you don't hear.
I skipped around, so we did not do the symptoms.
Yeah, let's cover those symptoms really quick. Here's the thing. The reason I was about to say about poverty, it holds true with illness. We don't realize sometimes that we are experiencing a certain fear or stress or subconscious play. We think this, and here's what's really going on. And so, but what we can do is we can say, look at the symptoms. Okay, here we are, ill health. And so for me, well, we could cover a couple of them. But for me, one of the things that I realize in my life is that there are symptoms that my body has when I start to get stressed or I'm not dealing with problems or feelings. And I've learned over the years to pay attention to those things, because I don't always pay attention because I'm such in a busy go mentality. But if we find ourselves, like Camille said, we find ourselves, and I've been there, I've been in the hospital, and they're like, well, you're having this and you're having this tingling and you're having that, and yeah, you used to have carpal tunnel, but those are also symptoms of stress. What? I'm not stressed out. But you know what? They did the test, and the carpal tunnel hadn't come back. So, right. So, I mean, it has since, but The Lord is good. But the fear of health resulting in us not exercising, the fact that we're afraid of ill health makes us more susceptible to physically getting sick. So we've talked about the mental aspect of it. Now we're talking about the physical aspect of it. Oh, self-coddling. Ooh, guilty. And I think you kind of did talk about that, about avoiding work, using. But the problem to me that I found, I don't know if you found this, Camille. I don't have the kind of friend base that wants to listen to me talk about being sick and being in pain and all that stuff all day. Like I don't have, like, I've heard people talk about, well, they just want attention. That's why they've broken down and they're in the wheelchair, or they've had this or that happen to them. And I'm like, well, what kind of attention are you getting? Because I don't get attention when I'm sick. um,
I don't
and,
know. I know a couple people. I ain't gonna say no names, but I know a couple of people. And then
I,
when they don't get what they want, then all of a sudden they can walk. I don't know.
oh,
So
wow.
but I'm just saying.
Well, then the other one that he has down here, and I think that this is interesting because there was no Angry Birds back then. There was no Netflix back then. And I think I would add this to the list: intemperance, the habit of using alcohol or narcotics to destroy pain, such as headaches, neuralgia, etc., instead of eliminating the cause. The habit of reading about illness and worrying about the possibility of being stricken by it. The habit of reading patent medicine advertisements. Oh my goodness! Like, how many of us have had to stop going to WebMD because no matter what you look up, it's like you're afflicted with everything, right? But when he talks about this intemperance, I find that this is actually a symptom of a lot of these different issues. When we're using other substances, or even the dopamine that comes from electronics, when we're using that to numb the pain instead of dealing with the source of the pain. And so I want you to keep those in mind. We're going to go ahead and go to poverty and the fear of poverty. And, poverty and wealth mindset can't coexist. If you're, and I know when I feel it sneaking up on me, because there'll be like one sale item left and there's like three moms and we're all going for it, and I see that they're going the same direction I am, and it's almost like a fight to get that last ham or to get that last whatever it is. And I feel it, and I have to tell myself, okay, drop back. You don't have to walk according to a spirit of scarcity. There's enough, and more will be made for you if that's for you, right? Like, I have to literally, like, you would think I've been teaching this stuff for years, right? But I still, every once in a while, it still comes up. Something's on sale and everybody's rushing to it. Oh, I'm not missing out, right? But we have to understand that if we live in a scarcity mindset, we can't have enduring wealth. We might get a flash of wealth, but because our mindset is poverty mindset, it's gone as quick as we get it. So we have to adjust our mindset, and we have to hold to that desire. And so I really wanted to bring out some of these things, some of these symptoms of fear of poverty, because if you're finding yourself in these symptoms, it's time to nip those in the bud and get over that and realign your energy so that you can move forward and accomplish your dreams and build wealth. Okay, so he talks about indifference, lack of ambition, willingness to stay in poverty. I have met so many people that are willing to stay in poverty rather than put forth the work to get out of it. And he says this also shows itself up in physical and mental laziness, lack of initiative, enthusiasm, and self-control. See how these all feed together? Indecision, letting somebody else, do the thinking for you, staying on the fence. Doubt, alibis and excuses designed to cover up, explain away, or apologize for one's failures. Woo! Listen to this. Sometimes expressed in the form of envy of those who are successful, or by criticizing them. Now, that's a powerful statement. And I hope that most of the people watching this have had those people try to speak in their lives, and that you're not that person. But I'm going to tell you, it wasn't until later in my life that I ever started to feel any of these kinds of feelings. Because I always knew I was going to get what I wanted. I was going to work hard. I was going to figure it out. And somehow I was going to find a way. But I'm going to tell you something. When I was in that emergency room the second time, and I had one friend, Diane Allen, came to visit me, and I had another friend who brought me a cell phone cord. And she's like, I can't stay. My kids are in the car. Have a good life. Here's my cord. Give it back to me when you can. And I had another friend say, you're too needy. I'm done with you. I'm like, this is only the second time I've been in the emergency room in my life, right? Like, come on. Or this is my first ambulance ride. I think it was actually the third time I've been in an emergency room. But for me, when I looked around and I saw other people, and people cared about them, and people were sitting with them the whole time, and people were visiting with them, and taking care of their things, and making sure their car stuff and taken care of. And I sat there, and I began to really begin to be very envious of people who had that kind of support system. And I really had to get my mind straight that, you know what, they have a support system because they built one. And you didn't build a support system, Miss Independent. I can do it all myself. I don't ever need any help. See, when you build a life of I'm independent and I can do it all myself and I don't need any help, then that's the kind of people you attract. You attract people who ain't used to helping anybody. They're not here to help you. They're here to be helped.
So
All right,
true.
I'm gonna wrap this up real quick, and we're gonna turn it back to poor Camille because I know I've been hogging the airtime here, but worry, overcaution, procrastination. We've talked about these things throughout the class. These are the things that show up when we are allowing the fear of poverty to creep in. And we need to be aware of it. So once we're aware of it, now we can do something about it.
Yes, yes. I like what you said about that. In the beginning when you were talking, how, you may have it if you have this fear of poverty, even when you get money, it's not going to last long. And you'll find yourself, which is why people that, come into money like that, um, lottery or NFL, NBA, a lot of these players are people that come into these inheritances. Their mindset is not changed. They still are living with a fear of poverty because they've been in poverty so long that they haven't shifted their mindset to riches, that they don't have to go and squander all their money because they're living like, oh, I got to get everything I can. I got to get everything. I got to buy it, everything. And the next thing you know, they have nothing. And they got a bunch of stuff that they can't use, a bunch of people that have used and abused and taken from them because they're trying to buy love. They're trying to buy relationships. They're trying to do all these things. And they have squandered away the riches, the temporary riches that they have because the mindset has not changed from a poverty mindset to a wealth and abundance mindset. They don't understand the process and the steps to undo those self-limiting beliefs, the things that we've been conditioned to believe about money and wealth and things like that. So yeah, and that overcaution, I'll say for me, I used to always be like, I was afraid to spend money. Like I gotta weigh my options. I gotta be real careful about what I do. I gotta be, it's not the right time. I gotta, it ain't the right. And then I would procrastinate so long that life would force my hand and I would end up making the decision that I did. It wasn't necessarily my decision, it was a decision life made for me because I was indecisive. And then I had to live with that decision that just came by default rather than saying, this is what I want to do. I'm going to change that because I know that there's more where that came from. So it took a lot of reconditioning for me to get there, but I missed out on a lot and I lost a lot because of the fear of poverty and that, again, these two being too overcautious and procrastinating and allowing life or letting life make my choices for me. So I couldn't be mad at nobody but myself.
No, but then we don't though. Because somebody else made the decision, we get mad at everything else. We get mad at the dog, the cat, the establishment. Oh, we get mad at the establishment now. It's all the man's fault. Uh, before we move off of poverty, there's something that I want to put in here, and I thought this was very interesting. And so, a lot of people know that I teach a debt-free lifestyle, and it's very difficult to do when you're first getting started. But when you get used to it, it gives you a lot of peace and a lot of comfort, and it takes away a lot of stress and anxiety, which is why I teach it. I'm not saying that people who leverage debt don't get successful. There are plenty who do, but what I'm saying is 100% of the people that I know that live a debt-free lifestyle succeed financially. Whereas maybe 10% of the people that I know who leverage debt succeed financially. The rest of them come to me to help me help them clean up their mess, right? And so this was written during the time, the Great Depression, the crash in 1929. It's now 1936. Everybody's still reeling from everything. They're still in the middle of this depression. Okay, they're still coming out of it. And he includes this quote from, I hope I say his name right, Westbrook Pegler, who's writing about getting money. And one of the things that I find interesting is he often talks about him and Wallace Wattles both not to restrict the way money comes to you. But in this one, he is saying don't borrow. Now, I want you to hear this really clearly. He is saying don't borrow in a time when many people can't find work, that the economic value of the work that you have doesn't go as long as it could. The dollar has inflated so bad that people can't hardly buy anything. Life stinks for a lot of people. And he's saying don't borrow. He's saying don't borrow because it changes your energy. It changes your energy when you, and it changes the energy of those you borrow from. And now today, in today's world, a lot of people borrow with credit cards or loans or things like that. And that's not what necessarily what he's talking about here. But I personally, having been in debt and then out of debt and then in debt and then out of debt, I personally say that you get the same physiological effects and you don't even realize it until you become debt free. Okay. But he says here, when somebody is borrowing, when borrowing merely to live is a depressing experience and the money lacks the power of earned money to revive his spirits. Okay. So this is for people who have normal ambition and self-respect. When we borrow instead of finding a way to live within our means and increase our value and increase our desire and our energy and amplify the energy to attract the people we need, the doors to open, and things like that. When we do that, it actually makes us feel worse. And so my whole thing with this book is let's stop doing things that make us feel worse and let's start doing things that make us feel better. Let's stop doing things that aren't working and let's start doing things that are working. And so one of the ways that we can start combating the fear of poverty is to stop digging the poverty hole deeper.
Love it. I love it. That's that robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then you're running from everybody. You know, nobody feels good about
You
that.
can't even answer your phone anymore, right?
You answer your phone, don't want to answer you. You know,
You
anybody,
don't
you
open
you
up a
looking around
letter.
corners trying to see they coming yet? Nope. Trying to hide and
You
turn
park
your
your
head.
car around the corner.
Borrowing your friend
I
car,
know even
leaving yours
myself
parked
ever
in
had to
a
do that,
parking lot.
right? Nobody else on here today had to park their car around the corner, right?
Yeah, but it does have that same effect, because you feel indebted to somebody else and you feel, so you're constantly hiding, and then there's that shame and there's that, you know, embarrassment and all those other things that just don't make you feel good. So I love what he says about that.
All right. Where do you want to go next? We kind of lumped in the fear of death, old age, and ill health. Did you want to talk more about any one of those in particular?
I did. I just want to talk just very briefly about the death. And that was a fear of death. And this is something that I had to reckon with years ago. And I had did a little thing because somebody was asking me how I deal with death, and I was like, went through this period where I was like, I don't know if I know how to grieve, or if it's just that I've accepted death is inevitable. And I said, well, I'll know when it hits me. Well, it hit me back to back to back to back, and I was just like, I think I just accepted that death is a part of life. And so when I read this and he was talking about that, so many people, and I see that, it's like, oh my God, I'm never gonna see him again. And I'm like, and I was even telling my mom on a show the other day, I was like, when it comes to death, we haven't accepted as humans that death is a part of life. When we're born, we're going to die. We don't know when that day is going to come. But if you can reckon with that, it makes that process so much different. And then, as I was reading this, I know that even in my father, right? So, um, even my grandmother lived a great life. She was a great woman. My daughter's father, well, he was a great man. He did so much for people. He did so much for me, getting me debt free, teaching me how to invest and create some money, emergency fund plus and all this kind of stuff. But I have just found myself being so grateful for the opportunity to have had them in my life for however long. Yes, I miss them, and death is final, and I cry or whatever, I feel something, but I'm not afraid of death the way I used to be. I used to, like, when you talk about losing somebody or somebody dying, I was so afraid I would get ill. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, like I can't, death is just, and then one day I was like, this is part of my life and I can't escape it. It's the one thing that I've known my entire life is that you're going to die at some point, right? And then he was talking about, the fear of that death and where we go and all that. That's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to get too much into it. But I realized that that really did play a big part in it. Why I was afraid of death. Am I going to go to hell, or am I going to go to heaven, or am I going to go, all these different things. And the thought of it was so scary to me that it just paralyzed me. But I said, you know what? I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna go. You know what I mean? In the things I'm gonna do the things that I can do or whatever. But I know that regardless, I have to die. You know, and it's what I do in my life that's gonna make the difference. What are people gonna say about me when I'm gone? But I found myself appreciating and looking at all of the people who have passed in my life with gratitude, and it has completely changed the way I feel about death. We all are going to leave this earth. Everybody's going to leave some kind of mark. What kind of mark are you leaving? And for me, the people that have left my life have left a great mark. And even if there's some, been tarnished a little bit here, or some things that have been whatever, and what did they teach me? What did I learn? I'm still grateful to have had the experience of being with them. And so I don't have the fear of death the way that I used to. And it's such a freeing feeling to not be afraid of something that you have no control over. That's going to happen regardless. And you have a heads up.
Well, we have a heads up that it's going to happen, but I tell you what, a lot of us forget that it is going to happen. And now my fear of death that I've struggled with has not been a fear of death per se, because I look forward to going to heaven. That's my personal belief. But I remember having a very, very powerful dream where I did die and I got to heaven. It was like, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And I was like, oh no, let me go back and let me go back and fix that. And it lit a fire under me. And every so often the spirit brings that dream back to my remembrance. And it's like, ooh, am I sitting on the couch a little too much? Now some things I understand, this is a season of life, right? Like I don't know if I was telling you, Camille, and I don't know if the audience knows, but I have one that plays football Thursday. I have band director and band kid Friday. I have another one that plays football Saturday. So my whole life during football season is football. Half the week is just gone to football, because I'm traveling 2-3 hours to go to these football games or do whatever to announce the halftime and all that. And there's times where I say, oh well, that's just part of life, and those are years I can't get back. That's time I can't get back, but it's worth it, because now my teenager talks to me. I mean, really just loves talking to me, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. But there's other times where I feel like, oh well, I'm just not going to bother, and then I don't do what I need to do, and it starts a slippery slope. And I may be able to fight these six basic fears, what Napoleon Hill calls the six ghosts of fear. I may be able to fight these ghosts off regular, but when I start slipping, it reduces my capacity to fight them off, and then they begin to creep in again. And for me, one of the big ones that creeps in is fear of criticism. And it's a quick downhill roll spiral, when we face that. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch to that. I may have misspoke earlier, though. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we had combined earlier ill health, old age, and death. We didn't cover the loss of love of someone yet, did we?
I didn't really talk about it. I said those are the
Okay.
three that I kind of lumped together when thinking of today's time, but we didn't really talk about a loss of a loved one.
Okay,
Loss
because
of the love of a loved one. Yeah.
all right, well, so it wasn't old age. That wasn't the one you were looking at. Oh, okay, because I was I kept going there, and I was like, I feel like I'm not in the right, but what? Somebody needed to hear that, so good. But for me, loss of criticism, the fear of criticism is a big thing. And I got chided by some parents one time because I saw a lot of this in my oldest when he first started public speaking, and someone had imparted it to me, and so I was able to impart it to him. They're like, oh, you're being such a mean mother. Well, one of the things that I was doing is he was being self-conscious. He was being very shy. He didn't want to get up in front of the mic, and he didn't want to give his presentation in a loud voice. Now, it'd be different if this wasn't a loud child. He's my child. He is just as loud as I am. All right. But when we have a fear of criticism, the fear of criticism, it actually makes us um it makes us exhibit things that make us appear humble, but they're really reflections of the fact that we are afraid of self. It's very self-centered. Shyness, believe it or not, extreme shyness and extreme stage fright are actually self-centeredness. And when somebody told me that, I was mad, right? But he's got it right here. Symptoms of the fear of criticism. This fear is almost as universal as the fear of poverty, and its effects are just as fatal to personal achievement, mainly because this fear destroys initiative and discourages use of imagination. The major symptoms are, first one out of the gate, self-consciousness. So generally expressed through nervousness, timidity in conversation and in meeting strangers, awkward movement of the hands and limbs, shifting of the eyes. And we think, well, I'm just being humble, or I'm just a naturally shy, nice person. I'm not loud, gregarious, and blah, 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 like those people over there. This is usually self-consciousness, lack of poise, lacking in firmness of decision. I'm under the category of personality, lacking in the ability to express opinions, a habit of sidestepping issues instead of meeting them squarely, agreeing with others without careful examination of their opinions. And this one was one that I found myself doing a lot until the Spirit revealed to me about how in the Bible it says we shouldn't wish people Godspeed if they're not serving the Lord. And I used to, wish people God's blessing all the time. If they're doing this and doing that, they got this ministry. I mean, of course, if they're not against Jesus, they're for him. So, hey, I'm going to wish. But then I had to learn to really pay attention to, what is this person doing? What is this person saying? Are they saying one thing and doing another? Okay. And so it's the same in business. See, we get hamstrung a lot when we uphold people who don't have our same values, and we uphold them like they do. Now, I'm not saying don't give honor to whom honor is due. If somebody helped me out in business and we're no longer walking together, I'm not going to act like they ain't never helped me. Right? Because I wouldn't be where I am today without the people who've poured into me all these years. But there are a lot of people who've poured into me all these years that after we got to walking together for a while, I was like, we're not aligned. And I love them. I love her. I will always love these people. And I even think about some of my early Air Force mentors, and some of these women, they got me where I am today. But we are not walking together for a reason. And while I'll give them honor, I'm not going to agree without careful examination of somebody's opinions. All right. Woo, inferiority complex. The habit of expressing self-approval by word of mouth and by actions as a mean of covering up a feeling of inferiority. Now, I really wanted to stop on this one for a second. I'm going to read the others and I'm going to come back to this one, because extravagance, trying to keep up with the Joneses, that's another sign. Lack of initiative. You see, lack of initiative, ambition, they show up in almost all of these, right? Lack of initiative, lack of ambition. But I want to talk about this inferiority complex for a minute, because many of my audience, and I imagine most of Camille's audience too, is women of color. And that's not a very nice assumption to make. In fact, I was really offended one time. I was at a conference and the lady was doing branding makeovers, and she said, well, this one is clearly branding towards moms, and this one's clearly branding towards dog lovers, and this one's branding towards Black women because they've got a picture of a Black woman on the front of it. So that's all she's going after is Black women. I'm like, that's the person whose webpage that is. Like, what? I can't be marketing to somebody else too? Okay. I should have thought this out a little bit more carefully, because I don't know a delicate way to say it. So if I say this indelicately, please just count it to my head and not to my heart, okay? As women of color, a lot of times when we walk into the room, there's especially in the professional setting, and definitely in the military setting, there is an assumption that already happens when you show up and you look the way you do as a woman and as a color. So you've got two minority strikes against you, right? And what a lot of us do is we start off, we want to make sure we deserve to be at the table. So we start off with, I'm Dr. So-and-so, PMP, MBA, blah, blah, blah. Well, I guess doctor and MBA don't go together, but we say all the alphabet soup after our name. We talk about how we went to Harvard and we went to Princeton and Howard. We talk about all of these different things and all of these accolades because we need you to know that we belong here and that you're not going to dismiss us and you're not going to dismiss all of our hard work, right? Does anybody else feel that energy? I don't, if you're watching after the fact, it's okay to put it in the comments. All right. Or if you're watching the replay, it's okay to put it in the comments. And so we do this. And in one sense, we are accomplishing the goal. But what we're also doing without realizing it is that to our seniorest most people that can help open up doors for us, we're exhibiting an inferiority complex. We're not operating from an inferiority complex. We are fighting the inferiority stereotype assumption of ages that still feels this way about a lot of people that look like me and have my gender, right? But it appears energetically to some of the people that could really help you going as if we are being pompous or we are covering up how we feel about ourselves instead of what we're really doing, which is acknowledging how most of the world feels about ourselves. Okay. And so the reason I bring that up to you is because it's important for us as we elevate to really consider the environment that we're in. All right. But I find that for me, this is one of the biggest things that I even still struggle with even today. Camille, you were at the John Maxwell conference. I took a picture with Daniela and Susan and Marissa, and they're all like this big. And I've lost a lot of weight. You remember when we did that picture? We did that side by side. I pulled up the picture of me 2 years ago and the picture of me now. I'm like, okay, you can see that I've lost a lot of weight. I've got a much more healthier glow. I'm taking a much better care of my body. But still, standing next to them, I look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And and it really worked the number on me when I began to feel all of these different things, and I really had to fight it. And so we have to understand that if we don't check these things, they will run over our lives. And then we'll be so self-conscious, we'll be so afraid of making the wrong decision that the opportunity will open up to us. And you know what we'll do? We'll run from it. I don't want you running from anything else. I want you to walk into all the abundance that God has prepared for you. And so, Camille, do you have anything you want to add on this fear of self-criticism or fear of criticism?
I do, because you know me, coming from where I'm coming from, there's a point that I really want to talk about, and it is about the parents. All right. In line 329 says parents often do their children irreparable injury by criticizing them. The mother of one of my boyhood chums used to punish him with a switch almost daily, almost completing the job with the statement, "You'll land in the penitentiary before you." The penitentiary. How come I can't say that? Penitentiary. Before you're 20. He was sent to a reformatory at the age of 17. Then it says it should be recognized. I'm not going to say it's a crime, but whatever. It says in reality, it's a crime of the worst nature for any parent to build inferiority complexes in the mind of a child through unnecessary criticism. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to be honest and transparent. This was one that really I recognized it first, so I was able to stop it. But I realized that I was doing some damage to my own child, feeling like I was protecting her. I thought that I was, because didn't want her to feel the same judgment. I think I might have said it before, but the same judgment that I felt, or people to say the things or look or whatever that I felt. So I was criticizing her size, even though her father is almost 7 feet tall and big, and she's a brick house. You can't do that. You can't eat that. You got to exercise. You got to do all these things. And I was building an inferiority complex in my child, even though I thought that I was protecting her. I thought that I was shielding her or telling her the things that other people would say to her if she didn't do a certain thing. But if you start seeing these things in your children, self-consciousness, lack of poise, that lack of firmness and decision, they always want to be people pleasers, can't make up their mind for themselves. Oh, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? that inferiority complex, where they're maybe a little bit overly exaggerating, but there's a deep fear that they're not enough or that they shouldn't belong in that group, or um, keeping up with the Joneses. Well, mama, I got to have this. I got to do all this. You might want to stop and look. And I'm not saying it's always going to be you, because they do pick up things from the environment. But a lot of times it is us, and me in particular. I did that to my own child, because and I'm not saying my mom did it on purpose, but there were some things, and my grandmother said some things that, again, were trying to protect us and make sure that we were a certain way and we presented ourselves, but it built an inferiority complex in me, or this whole lack of or fear of criticism. So I'm trying to do everything right. I'm trying to make sure, and I was driving my own self crazy in some instances. And so you have to be very careful what you say to your children and how you say that, and that you're not instilling the fear of criticism in them by being overly critical of them, or telling them that they're not going to be. We see that all the time. People that have, like, all these issues when they get grown. Well, my family, no, nobody ever believed I would be anything. They told me I wouldn't go back. And so why would I do anything different? And they end up being that which that person said, or how they criticized them and tore them down. So I'm just going to say, as parents, we have to be very, very careful what we speak into our children, because a lot of this stuff and these fears, they get from us, from our example, from what we say to them, what we show them, how we act towards them, and how they see us interacting with other people. So as we're going through this study, and I know it's the last night and it's the fear of the ghosts and stuff, but how do we apply this? And how do we change the dynamics in our lives? And how do we give our children this much younger? How do we break this cycle, and help them understand the six ghosts of fear? Because we're all going to deal with them at some point. But are we also teaching them how to outwit them when we recognize what it is and how it shows up? Are we giving them those tools as well? So I just want to, I thought that that was so profound. And it was very true for me. And it's one of those that, sometimes you get whipped over the head. Well, I recognize it, thankfully. So the whipping wasn't so hard, but it's still something that made me go, ouch. I wish I would have had this a little bit earlier. Maybe I would have been kinder, or maybe I would have said something different in a different way. So I just want to bring that to light.
I'm so glad you did, because even as you talked, I thought about all the times where I have been like, you can't wear that, you can't look like that. People are going to judge you, and they're going to think that you're something wrong with you, and then it's going to make you a target. And then there's times where I said, well, I don't want to make it about them, so I made it about me. Like, well, people are going to judge your mother, so you're not going to wear this, and you're going to act like this because they're going to make me look bad. And they're not even going to judge you, they're going to judge me. And I was like, why do I need to set up this fear of judgment in my kids anyway? Yes, we all need to get along. We need to take a shower. We need to brush our teeth, because that's what responsible citizens do, right? But I don't need to set up this whole situation where we're spending our entire life and all of our energy being afraid of the opinions of other people, especially other people who they themselves have allowed the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, or the fear of death to cripple their lives. Woo. All right, well, we've got one more left to cover, and that is the fear of loss of love. And this is an interesting one that I'm going to admit that I don't resonate with as much as the others, because I was the slow kid. I was the bookworm who was, no earthly good. I have lived the life that basically didn't have a whole lot of love. Like, I have more love in my life now than I ever had all of my life. And so for me, I see these things in others. But other than the envy or jealousy that began, I think I'd say maybe in my 40s, when I began to feel like I can't win this game because of my color and gender, and because I'm having to work so hard, it's getting me nowhere, and fill in the blank, and then the car accident and all, well, you just whatever. I think that's probably the closest I've been to this one. But for me, I I've always wanted more love of someone, but I've always been afraid of it. And so I'm just in the last couple of years really walking into a season where I don't take somebody's love immediately. Oh, they're just trying to manipulate me. Oh, they're just trying to use and abuse me, you know? And so I do want to touch on it, but I don't know that I'm the best person to teach on it.
I got you. Yeah. I mean, I can relate to this too. I told my mom one time, it's like that whole heartbreak, sometimes it feels like death. It's like the death of a relationship. You grieve the loss of love, the way that you grieve death. And I remember going through a traumatic time in my life during, a divorce. I'll leave that at that. And I remember crying to my mom. I was like, Mom, like I feel like I'm gonna die. I was so afraid of losing the love of this person and then the jealousy. And, you start looking at everything and, the way that this person is looking at this person, because, they out there cheating anyway. And it talks about, how men are, out there anyway. And so we start looking for all these things, whatever. But I started, and it was so painful, physically painful. I felt like my heart was literally breaking, and so it was such this intense fear of losing the person that I loved that I was just like, I was driving my own self crazy. You know what I mean? And it was like everything I'm finding fault, or well, you must be doing this, you must be doing that. I'm going to, and everything. And then finally I said, you know what? One of us gonna die. So I have to go because I can't spend my life feeling like this. I can't spend my life in this cycle of jealousy, of fear of, stepping out, of fear of not being enough, of fear. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible cycle. And then I had to stop and think. I'm like, okay, I have picked myself up before. I've lost love before and I still made it. What makes this any different? And so I stopped fearing the loss of the love of that person and really started to love myself. And people always ask me, like, oh, you guys are, why did you get in? I said, because I love myself more. I love myself enough that I decided I couldn't go on with this. And you can't make a person love you. And if they're gonna not gonna love you or decide to walk out, they're gonna do it anyway. And I'm driving myself crazy. And I feel like I'm literally going to die. For what? And I had to, and I tell them all the time, it wasn't because I didn't love them that I got divorced. It was only because I loved me more. And so I had to let that go because that fear was so painful that it was another one of those that I was in the hospital because it was manifesting itself physically. And there were so many things going on mentally and physically that I just had to say, I when it says this fear is the most painful of all the fears because it probably pays more havoc with the body and mind than any of the other basic fears, as it often leads to permanent insanity. That's in lines 476 through 478. And I experienced that on a very real level to where I was like, I feel like I'm going crazy. Somebody tell me I'm not crazy. Somebody tell me I'm not just making up all the things that I'm feeling right now. Tell me I saw what I saw, that I'm just not, and it was a very, very painful experience for me. But I made it out on the other side. I'm still here. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm whole. I love myself, and we're still friends. So I'm good because forgiveness is important for myself and for the others. So
Forgiveness is important, and
yeah.
one thing as we begin to wrap up this, because I think we've covered this chapter,
Mhm.
um, but if not, you can definitely jump in and clean up anything that I may have missed. One thing that I see when you tell your story about the divorce that you experienced, and then I think about the divorce that I experienced, I think back about the fear of the loss of the love, and also, my ex had decided that he could do better, and he didn't necessarily want a divorce under his reputation, but he wanted his flexibility to make himself feel better about being a man and not having what he thought was or what he would say was an overweight uh ugly wife, um which wasn't true after we got divorced, that's for sure. But apparently apparently he was lying to me all those years. But when you're they say when you're having the affair mindset, you really have a foggy brain, and you rewrite history. But I think about the impact that this had on you, and I think about the impact that my divorce had on me, and I would say that the impact, that was the first time in my life where I had to go to counseling. And it was like, okay, I know that the Holy Ghost is the great counselor, but nobody, I would try to go talk to people in my church, and they'd be like, well, we don't want to hear about your marital problems, and then I was like, I have to go to counseling because I cannot, I don't know how to handle this. But for me, it wasn't the fear of the loss of love. What was really going on inside of me was the fear of criticism, and the fear of self-criticism and humanity criticism, because in 1 week I became everything that I had worked so hard my whole life not to be. I became a single Black mother in a whole lot of debt, needing assistance. And that was something I had worked so hard to not be. And here was my life. And here I was, a failure, and everybody's going to see me a failure. I was a major at the time. I hadn't been promoted yet. I was a major at the time. And here I am at this high rank, this muckety muck person, chief of the CAG, the Commander's Action Group, like writing all the speeches and doing all the special projects, and $800,000 of debt, can't pay my bills, about to face foreclosure and bankruptcy and all these things. And for me, that fear of poverty and that fear of criticism. And so you look at a world event, you look at a life event, and you can see how it impacted two different people, two different ways. Like, Camille might disagree with me, but I don't ever see her recoiling from a fear of criticism. Like, she is a very bold person who's going to say what needs to be said. Like, you're exactly the senior or chief I want on my team. Because I know you're going to get it done and I won't have to. I don't think that came out right, but I hope you know what I mean. Like I always wanted people on my team that I knew they were going to take care of business, and I could just let them do their job. I could just get them the supplies they needed. I could smile at the comm guy to make sure that we got all our computer equipment together, and get the money, and do all that stuff, do the schmoozing and all that, and let people do their job and do it well. And I needed people that were going to be afraid to be honest with me. But for each of us, we have some core fears that we struggle with, and some people don't have issues. If you don't like ice cream, you're not struggling when you work at Baskin Robbins. It's not a problem for you to work at Brahms. You're not going to gain 30 pounds because you don't like it. It doesn't matter. It's not affecting you. But if you do, it's a whole different system. It's a whole different situation. So look at these different 6 fears, and you'll notice how many of these symptoms are evident in our lives. And I really encourage you to do like Camille said. He said, hey, this is going to be some self-introspection. You need to prepare yourself to read this stuff. I encourage you to get this recording. And even if you don't get the book, get the recording. You can go out there. Let me put it up real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Camille in a second, so she can add her final thoughts, and close it out. But I really want you to think about, just because something happened to somebody else didn't affect you, doesn't mean that something additional will affect you in the same way and result in the same result. You notice the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, all of these. One of the common threads is lack of initiative, lack of ambition. And you should go do better, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you can make this, and you have these great ideas, and you just don't. You just don't. These 6 ghosts of fear, at least one of them is showing up in your life when you experience those symptoms. So I want to encourage you to challenge yourself and take yourself to the next level.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is one epilogue that is so full of personal introspection, reflection to help you really get to the next level. As I was going through this chapter, I'll just say he talks about habit, and the majority of the times in this one, it was bad habits that are keeping us in the places that we're at, that's allowing these fears to manifest in our lives and to continue to have a hold on us. He talked about habits 44 different times. He talked about excuses and alibis 22. You put that together, that's 66 times in one chapter. All right. About the things that are really holding us back and that are keeping us from living our full life, an abundant life, a powerful life, And when I look at these last things, like she was saying, and I talked about in the very beginning, but these questions, I would really encourage you, don't rush through this. Okay, because this is for you. You have to live your life for the rest of your life. I would just say take the time, identify those things, and then it gives you kind of a blueprint on how to deal with that. Here's some things that you can do to overcome these things. So why not take the time, invest the time in yourself to get to know yourself so that you can take charge of your life in a way that you haven't before. You can take charge when those fears and those doubts and that worry come up. You can say, not today. I know what you are. I know what those symptoms are. I can feel it creeping up. I can feel it germinating and trying to grow. But I'm going to put some weed. What is that weed off? What is it called? Roundup. Roundup. I will put some Roundup.
The weed killer.
Yeah, weed killer on it. So it's not going to grow and it's not going to be able to strangle and choke out any ideas and creativity and imagination and my journey to wealth that I'm trying to attain. Because that's exactly what it'll do. If you don't nip it in the bud, it will grow and fester and it will kill off all the good stuff in your life. So take the time, do the work on you, and it'll only work if you work it and if you're honest when you do the work. And that's the thing, because this is between you and you. This is about you and you. So you have to be honest with yourself in order to really, really, really get to the root of it and to live a much more prosperous life. So this is a chock full, juicy chapter epilogue. If I've never seen one before, this is it. If y'all don't read nothing else, I'm not gonna say the whole book is good, but don't skip over the epilogue in this book, nor the introduction. I'm just gonna say that, or the preface.
Or all the stuff in between. Seriously though, if you don't know what Camille was talking about when she talked about the questions at the end of this chapter, he's got self-analysis test questions, and these are things, like whether or not you've got a spine, whether or not you've got a backbone, you're going to go do something. He talks about whether or not you're going, how much of your time do you spend on sleeping and on relaxation and on developing yourself? What habits of other people annoy you the most? You know what they say, right? The things that annoy you about other people are usually the ones that you have, and you just don't want to acknowledge it. And then he has the 57 famous alibis, things like if I didn't have a wife and family, if I had a good education, if time were better, and all of these alibis, we do a really good job in what's it called, Authentic Abundance, the study of the science of getting rich, my study of the science of getting rich, and you can find that on my website. But if we go through all of these, how none of these things matter, and so I encourage you to do exactly what Camille recommended. Take you some time. Get these questions. Go out there to the portal. I got the link right down here for you to get access to the portal. You can actually find the book on Amazon in the link. The link of that is in the portal as a free preview, so you can grab that link even if you don't have the class. Sit down and really get you a pen and just get you a nice pen that makes you not feel so bad about what you're about to write, and just spend some time. Spend some time with yourself and be honest. If you can't be honest, then you're not going to get where you want to go. I like this illustration that Roddy Galbraith uses. He's like, if you want to get here and you're really down here, but you're pretending you're up here, you're never going to get here, because this isn't the path you need to go. This is the path you need to go, but you're pretending you're up here. Just be honest and get on the right path. I promise you, you will get there, and you will be so amazed at the change in your life. It doesn't take very long. And so with that, I think we're going to close out this year's class. Again, I encourage you to get the class for yourself. And before I let Camille do some closing thoughts, I just want to remind you about my conference one last time. You can go out there at buildingwealthtogethersummit.com, get you your free ticket. All right. We've got Dr. Cheryl Wood. We have got General Larry Spencer. We've got Joseph Bojang talking about crypto, y'all. Oh, this is going to be so good. We've got Jen DeGallier talking about leadership and overcoming some of those excuses that we have. We've got Natalie Lavelock talking about finding your purpose. I mean, we have got some impressive. We've got Gail Frankel talking about brain fog and what your doctor didn't tell you about brain fog. If you don't watch any, no, wait, I was about to say if you don't watch any other of the talks, you make sure you watch hers, but you need to make sure you watch mine too. But we've got some powerful people We have some powerful people that are going to be in this conference, and you don't want to miss it. It's a free seat. Come on, y'all know I love free 99. Come on in and get your free seat, and you will get a blessing. All right, all right. Camille, this has been a wonderful experience teaching this class with you. It's so much fun to have the back and forth, and I really appreciate that you're here. And it sounds like the audience really appreciates it too. I didn't say hi. I think we said hi to Rocky, and I don't know if we said hi to Tamika and Lily. We did catch, and Dennis. We're glad you're here. And who else do we have here? Hey, I hope you will be in the conference. Camille speaking. I didn't even mention that. We got the great, the one and only Camille Thomas, y'all. I forgot your topic. Oops. But it was good, y'all. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch her. You gotta watch her. And so what we did, because of the pandemic and everything, we pre-recorded a lot of the talks just to make sure that we were going to have a capacity to get it. And this way, the speakers can actually interact with you online. So you get on in there and you support Camille when her talk comes on. All right, Camille, over to you for some closing comments.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, please come on. Stepping out again, doing something different. And so, but I just want to say thank you guys so much for your support during this Think and Grow Rich series with JJ and I. It has been an absolute pleasure. I have had so much fun. I have loved coming on here, sharing this platform with her, to give you guys some of the information that we've got that's changing our lives every single day. And I can't thank you enough. I know that there's some people that was like, man, I missed it, and I'm so glad I caught it, and decided to join the study or get the course. And so I hope that it's all that you hoped it would be. Like I said, it's just been such a pleasure over the last 8 weeks. I can't believe it's been 8 weeks, but it's been 8 weeks, you guys, that we've been given content free every Wednesday, and then recording a bonus session that's also uploaded into the portal. But thank you for the interaction, and thank you for welcoming me on this platform. So thank you, JJ, so much for everything.
Well, I tell you what, you are welcome on Building Wealth Together platform anytime, sister. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. And I know you've got a podcast and all that. And I know we've kind of tag teamed this and we broadcasted to both of our audiences. But why don't you let my audience know how they can get a hold of you in more detail?
Well, you can get a hold of me. Of course, I'm here on Facebook, Camille Stevenson Thomas, and that's STEPHANSON Thomas. I do have a podcast on Thursdays. It's called The Linus Lair. Saturdays, I've been doing the sanity check, so there'll be some changes coming up in the near future. And then you can reach out to me on my website at www.aspire to grow higher, ASPIRE, the number 2, GROWHIGHER.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Camille. It's been an amazing 2 months of fantastic teaching. I know that we've moved the needle forward in people's lives because the comments and the feedback show it. I want to thank you for being here. And for the audience, I want to thank you for being along with us on this journey. I encourage you to jump into the Building Wealth Together conference and stay on the lookout for other things that we're doing. I'm going to have the countdown to your best year ever. We're going to see advertisements for that. If that's something that you might want to be involved in, well, it's something you should be involved in. But if it's something you've got some time for, we are actually going to do something new this year. We usually do time-tested success strategies, but we're going to do power principles. Make sure that you follow me on Facebook so that you get the alerts, okay? And Camille, did you have anything coming up? I know you're going to be in the Building Wealth Together conference next month. I didn't know if you had anything else coming up that we want to alert the audience about.
I do. I am putting on my 4-week book writing course again. So how to write your book. It's called From Head to Hand. So you'll see the announcement on my website in the next couple of days, or not on my website, on my Facebook page and on the website in the next couple of days. So if you'd like to purchase that course, then that'll be available. So it's Head to Hand, how to get your book idea out of your head and into your hand. And then I'm also doing another mastermind that'll be coming up at the end of November, and you will see some advertisements for that as well. So keep on the lookout.
That's right. These two ladies right here, we are moving and shaking and making things happen. All right, all right. Now, y'all, on behalf of myself and Camille, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and we want to thank you for this lesson. Want to thank you for participating, and most importantly, I want to thank you for applying these principles so that you can have a change in your life. I'm JJ Conway. This is I'm here with Camille Thomas. I want to thank y'all for being here. Y'all take care and be blessed.